Most people expect to be celebrated. They wait for the notifications, the messages, the validation that they matter. But there are a few who treat their birthday like it's just another day, no party, no cake, no crowd. They're not cold. They've simply outgrown the need to be seen. And that quiet detachment is far more powerful than any celebration. From the moment we're born, we're told our worth depends on attention, on how many people remember us, how many celebrate us, how many likes we get on a single day of the year. The birthday becomes a stage, not a day, a performance of happiness, a ritual where we measure our value by the number of people who show up, who post, who pretend to care for 24 hours. Society has trained us to crave this, to feel empty without it, to believe that if no one celebrates us, we don't matter. But some people have walked away from this game entirely. They've stopped playing, and in doing so, they've unlocked something most people will never understand: freedom from the need to be seen. Somewhere along the way, they stopped needing proof that they matter. Studies show that people who downplay their birthdays often score higher in emotional self-regulation and internal locus of control. They don't rely on external events to feel valuable. They've built their sense of worth from within, not from the crowd. This isn't about being antisocial or depressed. It's about psychological independence. They don't need a calendar date to tell them they're important. They don't need a crowd to validate their existence. They've realized something most people spend their entire lives avoiding: that the need for celebration is just another form of dependency. And dependency is weakness. When you base your happiness on whether people remember you, you give them control over your emotional state. You become a slave to their attention. But when you let go of that need, you become sovereign. Machiavelli wrote, "He who conquers himself is the greatest conqueror." These people have done just that. Power begins the moment you no longer need to be celebrated. Think about it. The person who craves attention is predictable. They can be manipulated with praise, controlled with validation, destroyed with neglect. But the person who doesn't need it, untouchable. Machiavellian psychology teaches that true power isn't about dominating others, it's about controlling yourself. And these individuals have mastered that art. They don't reject attention, they control it. They appear when it benefits them and disappear when it doesn't. They understand that the less you need from others, the more power you hold over your own life. While everyone else is performing for approval, they're observing. While others are desperate to be remembered, they're building something far more valuable: autonomy. Attention is the currency of the weak. Control is the currency of the powerful. Most people live in an emotional economy where they're constantly trading their peace for validation. They post, they perform, they celebrate, hoping someone will notice, hoping someone will care. But people who treat their birthday like a normal day have opted out of this economy entirely. They've realized that being forgotten sometimes is freedom. That not being the center of attention means not being vulnerable to its absence. When you stop chasing validation, you become untouchable. You stop giving people power over your emotions. You stop measuring your worth by their memory. And in a world obsessed with being seen, the person who doesn't need to be seen becomes the most powerful person in the room. Let's address the misconception. People assume that someone who doesn't celebrate their birthday must be cold, lonely, or depressed. That's not true. They're not emotionless. They just refuse to outsource their happiness. Their peace doesn't depend on a calendar date or someone's reminder. They don't need a party to feel alive. They don't need validation to feel valued. They've learned that real connection isn't measured by candles or wishes, but by who stays when the noise fades. By who shows up not because it's expected, but because they choose to. These people have deep relationships. They just don't need a performance to prove it. They don't need a crowd to feel loved. They've built a life where their happiness is internal, not dependent on external rituals. And that's not coldness, that's strength. This mindset extends far beyond birthdays. It's a way of life. They don't chase praise at work. They don't need applause in relationships. They operate in silence, and that silence protects them. While others broadcast their every achievement, they observe. While others react emotionally to every slight, they calculate. While others demand recognition, they build leverage. They don't fight for attention, they accumulate power quietly. They understand that the loudest person in the room is rarely the most dangerous. The quiet one, the one who doesn't need to prove anything, is the one you should watch. This is Machiavellian psychology at its finest. Not manipulation, not cruelty, just emotional control, just strategic detachment. Just the understanding that the less you need from the world, the more you can take from it when you choose to. Here's the dark truth. People who can't control their emotions despise those who can. Your calm reminds them of their chaos. Your silence exposes their dependence. Your ability to walk away from validation highlights their desperate need for it. And they hate you for it. Not consciously, not openly, but deep down, they resent the fact that you don't need what they can't live without. Your indifference to their rituals feels like an insult to their entire worldview. You're not playing the game they've been taught to play, and that terrifies them. So they'll call you cold. They'll say you're missing out. They'll insist something must be wrong with you, because the alternative that you've simply evolved beyond the need for their approval is too threatening to accept. They don't crave to be remembered. They crave to be at peace. They don't want to be celebrated. They want to be unshakable. And when they walk away from the noise, they carry something no crowd can give: sovereignty. Sovereignty over their emotions, sovereignty over their happiness, sovereignty over their sense of self. They don't need the world to throw them a party to feel valuable. They don't need validation to know they matter. They've built an internal fortress that no amount of neglect can penetrate. And that fortress is something most people will spend their entire lives trying to build but never will, because they're too busy performing for an audience that doesn't even care. Most people fear being forgotten, but the wise know you're only truly free when you stop needing to be remembered. Don't seek to be celebrated, seek to be calm. Don't demand attention, command silence. Don't measure your worth by who shows up on one day of the year. Measure it by who you are when no one's watching. Because at the end of the day, the birthday isn't the test, life is. And the person who can face it without needing validation, without needing a crowd, without needing proof that they matter, that person has already won. That's how Machiavellian psychology defines strength: quiet, invisible, and untouchable. If this perspective resonated with you, drop a comment and tell me. Do you celebrate your birthday, or do you let it pass like any other day? I want to hear your thoughts. And if you're ready to dive deeper into the psychology of power and control, subscribe, because we're just getting started.